Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. ഞാൻ Natsu Dragni here and you're watching Gamer Natsu and let's rumble. Okay, ഇത് ശകല ഒരു ഷോർട്ട് ഓഡിയോയാണ് ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ വീഡിയോയിൽ ആഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. കാരണം ഞാൻ വീഡിയോ എടുക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ അറിഞ്ഞില്ല എൻ്റെ മൈക്രോഫോൺ ഒന്ന് പന്നലായിപ്പോയി. അപ്പം അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഞാൻ മൈക്രോഫോൺ ഇല്ലാതെ ഒരു 15 മിനിറ്റ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് എൻ്റെ ഓഡിയോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നത്. കാരണം ഞാനത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് ശരിക്കും റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്തത്. എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഒരു തവണയും കൂടി റെക്കോർഡ് ചെയ്തു എൻ്റെ ഓഡിയോ ആയിട്ട്. പിന്നെ കൂടുതൽ തുടങ്ങുന്ന മുമ്പ് ലൈക്ക് ചെയ്യുക, ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുക, പിന്നെ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യുക. ഓക്കെ ഗൈസ്, ലെറ്റ്സ് റംബിൾ.
Bring the Knights of Favonius with you next time. I still have a lot to do at the guild. How about you take a rest while I go back?
Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia.
Best of luck to you.
Finally, you're back. Well, how did...
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well, now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that you're investigating. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the necessary items have been prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is...
എനിക്ക് പറയാതെ
There There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply
ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്
my
കേൾക്കാൻ
hypothesis
പറ്റുമോ
based
actually?
on the
എൻ്റെ
presumption
mic
that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
ഓക്കെ
But when the
നിങ്ങൾക്ക്
count
പറയാൻ
reached
കേൾക്കാൻ
30 seconds or so, there
പറ്റുമായിരിക്കുമല്ലോ.
was a
എൻ്റെ
thud.
മൈക്ക് ഒന്ന് ഓഫായി പോയി.
One so loud
Mic
that I
charge
believe
ചെയ്യുന്നു.
practically everyone heard it.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from.
I was right by the box and I...
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use... Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid.
ഓക്കെ
Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatsu's doing. I've got a feeling that what happened on...
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute.
Thank
Your
you.
first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and discord, I suppose. This was almost too easy. Oh, good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Linny. Why did...
Order! First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members. Are these... Please answer my...
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true.
I knew it.
Well, that's it. We might as well move on.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary? They're already as good...
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Yeah.
Order!
Fine.
Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism than I thought. In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of
ഓക്കെ വെയിറ്റ് നമുക്ക് കുറച്ചും കൂടി ടൈം തന്നേക്കാണോ ഇവര്? ഹലോ ഗായ്സ്, വെൽക്കം ടു മൈ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനൽ. ഞാൻ നാസു ഡ്രാഗ്നി ഹിയർ ആൻഡ് യു ആർ വാച്ചിങ് ഗെയിം ആൻഡ് ലെറ്റ്സ് റംബിൾ. ഓക്കെ, ഞാനൊന്ന് ഭാഷ ഒന്ന് മാറിപ്പോയി. എന്തായാലും ആയിക്കോട്ടെ. പിന്നെയും എൻ്റെ ആദ്യത്തെ ഇത് കാണുമ്പോൾ മനസ്സിലായിക്കോളും ഇത് രണ്ട് സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ആയിരിക്കും. കാരണം എൻ്റെ മൈക്കൊന്ന് പോയായിരുന്നു, അതുകൊണ്ട് ചിലപ്പം എഡിറ്റിംഗ് കാണുമായിരിക്കും. എൻ്റെ വോയിസ് കട്ട് ചെയ്തതാണോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയാൻ പറ്റുമായിരിക്കും കുറച്ച്, അതുകൊണ്ട് ക്ഷമ ചോദിക്കും. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ പിന്നെയും പറഞ്ഞത് എന്തിനാന്ന് എനിക്കും അറിയില്ല.
Yeah. arrested you, we based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad.
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain.
Okay.
I know you've clashed with the Vitui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about it, right. So, you be the judge. Heck, you met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's hear your answer first, and no lies now!
Okay. Paimon.
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought.
Okay.
After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
കുറച്ച് മെനക്കേടാണല്ലോ ഈ പണി.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
ഞാൻ ആ പേര് ഒരു എനിക്ക് പറയാനൊക്കത്തില്ല. ഒരു ട്രീസ് മിക്കലീസ് കൊടിനോ.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you this time. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But, like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave...
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight Huh? Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
ഓക്കെ, ഈ സത്യങ്ങൾ കുറച്ച് പറഞ്ഞ ശകലം പണിഷ്മെന്റ് എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചോടും.
Both parties have returned to their position. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue...
That took long enough. Now then, at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective.
Okay, even though based on the opposition accusation of events, you can identify loopholes in their statement. Use evidence clues obtained during the investigation to refute any occurrences assertive of fact or replace them with the new references. And use your and convince the audience to obtain more support from the people or still little display and shifted. When you find that is a blow. Okay.
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out. Before making it at this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linney red-handed. So Linney proceeded to knock afterward. Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands. And there you have it. That's...
Does the defendant's side have any objection?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. What Linney experienced and what he saw.
Okay, എന്താ ചെയ്യണ്ടേ? Identify loopholes.
Seems this won't produce a... See...
Okay.
According to Linney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey. Linney did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath. Linney went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say!
Okay, it's there. പായ്മാണെന്ന് എന്തിനു പറയാൻ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞൂടെ?
When the countdown started, Linney did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground... Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since the crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view.
കൊള്ളാല്ലേ? Disco. Okay.
Paimon did it!
In other words, you believe that he knew...
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linney only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that That's why they're partners of mine. To turn things around.
Okay, finally.
Well, your
ഞാൻ
denial is
ഇവിടുത്തെ
very
detective.
strident. I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? You're saying that he wasn't?
Okay, okay. എന്താ
That's right! Linny wasn't. This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Okay.
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Or did she have her own scheme all along? Could there have been a third person involved? Halsey is the missing person and an...
Okay, upper last.
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's...
Okay, timer തരാഞ്ഞത് നന്ന്.
That can't be right. The killer was in...
Oh, is that so?
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrance. The deceased's name is Cowell, Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between... It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well.
Okay, how?
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between... No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrance. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would like... The sound we heard may have come from a clash between... The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left the...
Okay. ശരിയാ. Thank you, at least help ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. It would have been tough for both people to fit into... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. Linny was not in the tunnel at that... Linny was not in the tunnel at that... No one entered or left the It would have been tough for both people to fit... It would have been tough for both... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel.
Okay.
No one entered or left the sound we heard may have come from a... It would have been tough for both people to...
Okay. Oh.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
Look, since we're at a dead end, just like the trick as it transpires.
If only we knew how Halsey...
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Minnie was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a... The deceased's name is Cowell.
Okay.
Minnie's assistant.
ഞാൻ കുറെ നേരമായിട്ട്
He
വിണ്ടായിരിക്കും.
would have been able to tamper with the equipment. The vase was not broken by chance.
Yes. Yes. ആദ്യമായിട്ട് കുറെ നേരം മെനക്കെടാതെ ഒത്ത്.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a...
Just a moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirect.
Even so, the truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way
Buddy.
I see it,
You
your
buddy.
suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased, Cowell.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical
കുറച്ച്
progress that
മെനക്കേടാ.
we feel must be shared with everyone
ശരിയാ.
post-haste. We
വിചാരിച്ച
discovered
പോലെയല്ല.
several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are... water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be...
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence, isn't it?
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean...
Demoiselle, wait! What about your part?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results. But still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit guards. Please continue examining the items of Mr. Linney. It appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue.
Of course. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe
Okay.
that many of this case's
എനിക്ക് ചെറുതായിട്ട്
seemingly
സംസാരിക്കാൻ
unrelated
ഇപ്പൊ
clues
ഇല്ല.
can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that
Okay.
water from the primordial sea.
പുതിയ evidence.
Water from the primordial sea should already have... Now it seems like the hook... The water from the primordial sea... The deceased's name is Cowell. Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire... I remember there was something else within the inner... Now it seems like the hook rope... Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for... The water from the primordial sea. Lynette was in the magic box. The rope that held the water tank up was... Lynette was in the magic box on... I remember there was something...
Okay.
The rope that held the water tank up was... Lynette was in the magic box on stage. Now it seems like the hook rope was not...
Okay. And
Lynette was in the magic box on Now it seems like the hook rope was...
timer ഉണ്ടോ ഇതിന്?
The water from the primordial sea... The deceased's name is Cow...
Okay. ഉണ്ട്.
The deceased's name is Cow... The water from the primordial sea...
Okay. ശരിക്കും വായിച്ചു നോക്കാം. വായിച്ചല്ല എന്താ പറയുന്നത്, കേൾക്കണം. ടൈമിംഗ് ആണ്, പേഷ്യൻസ് വേണം. അത് എനിക്കില്ല.
In the original plan, Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to...
On that note, the guards have just contacted me I shall now invite him on stage to share...
Thank you, Your Honor.
child.
We were just inspecting the luggage and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's...
What?
That can't be.
Does this not... My dear citizens...
Okay, പോലീസുകാരൻ ചെയ്തു. Oh, come on!
Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, he did leave the scene via the... Having made modifications to the... But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired soul credit. Ultimately, he knocked... Now, as much as I regret... Am I right, Mr. Linny?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no... Is this the end of the road?
Oh, come on!
No. Seems using the water as new...
I believe this is indeed the finale.
അല്ല.
Now then, my good, no...
Excuse me, everyone!
Miss, I must ask you not to shout and to respect the...
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate? And I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh. What in the world?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Come on now, don't be silly. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them one? And wouldn't such a trick be the... Come on, Lenny and Lynette. But as the magic makers and stars of the show...
I understand.
And voila.
എന്താ ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്?
Sorry.
Wait, isn't that Halsey?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it, she caught me.
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Lenny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy it. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there, and I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Lenny was the one who caught me in the act.
Hey, no wonder you look familiar. So you were the thief! Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but he even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was on to me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee, but then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance costumes. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a...
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now.
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian's...
Okay. എൻ്റെ ടേൺ. അത് ആവശ്യമില്ല.
The strange...
Okay.
The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but it was smashed during the struggle between Lillian and Cowell. Lillian was afraid that she would be recognized if she...
And it's Ace Detective time on time!
ഞാനല്ലേ ഇവിടുത്തെ ഡിറ്റക്റ്റീവ്.
Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lillian. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowell out and putting him in the box. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk until the performance ended.
കൊള്ളാല്ലേ? ഞാൻ ഇവിടുത്തെ ഫ്രീക്കിംഗ് ഡിറ്റക്റ്റീവാ. ഓക്കെ.
She would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the opera house these...
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about a sneaky thief.
At this point, all the events that happened in the tunnel have now come...
Ah, so that...
Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina. Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leave the room before the proceedings have concluded.
What? Are you reading my mind? No. I have no further arguments. I admit defeat. But real...
Wow! Look at that! She's like a deflated balloon now!
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, the actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian, thinking that... However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed... As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within... From this reconstruction of events, we can...
Hooray, Linny and Lynette!
While there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct that should still be... This case, at least, can be handed over to the oratories to make the final decision. As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared
not guilty.
Victory for Ace Detective Paimon!
Great work, partners. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation. How did you find the water from the primordials?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and...
Yes! I'll tell you, our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss we're talking about. The...
What?
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness. I shouldn't have expected any less of them.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's...
Traveler, Paimon, please wait.
Lenny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me, but still. Let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui, I guess. But regardless, I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Linny this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering... Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I, to survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing... I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. Before long, an aristocrat came to me.
So you went from orphans to nobility just...
That was how we felt at first, too. As if fate was on our side. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to...
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than Roman...
It took a while. After one particular performance at a banquet, I waited a long time after the answer he gave me was... She caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as...
Oh no. But wouldn't Fontaine...
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. And they have their ways of escaping the eye of the... I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person, and hurried through the night. All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in...
So, she'd already...
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement, all of them orphans. Father, the Knave, might have seen something in me, and so... The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. I was hesitant to trust her. I had just been betrayed by nobles, but she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has gained permission from the Sarita to first use the Gnosis's power when she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy.
So, she believes in that...
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water. Everyone at Hotel Bouffe d'été, including the Knave, has their roots in Fontaine. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family, is our homeland.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets...
It's alright. I understand. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the house, I have never stopped making my own decisions. If you should need anything at all in the...
Okay.
Bye, Linny!
ഈ ക്വസ്റ്റ് കഴിഞ്ഞു കാരണം ഭയങ്കര നീണ്ടതായിരുന്നു. ഇതുവരെ കഴിഞ്ഞില്ലേ? അയ്യോ എന്തൊരു നീണ്ടതാ അത്. നമുക്ക് വിടാം.
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappear. Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who've been cracking? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there's...
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little shocked to hear that from you. Sorry. I might have...
Don't say that, Navia.
Oh, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new... sorry about that. I'm a bit prone to... Wait, should we have a farewell meal? You know, to come...
Huh?
Do we... Well, Anyway, it would just be a meal.
You don't have to twist mine up.
Oh, wonderful. In that case...
Alright then.
ഇപ്പം ഫൈനലി ഞാൻ വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഇത് ഒരുമിച്ചാക്കി അങ്ങ് വെച്ചേക്കാം. അപ്പം അങ്ങനെ അടുത്ത ക്വസ്റ്റ് തുടങ്ങത്തില്ലല്ലേ? ഇല്ലല്ലേ? കാരണം വെളി ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് പോകാനാ. ഓക്കെ 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 ഗായ്സ്, ഇനി ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ വീഡിയോ അവസാനിക്കുക. പിന്നെ ലൈക്ക്, ഷെയർ, സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യാൻ ഒരിക്കലും മറക്കരുത്. പിന്നെ എൻ്റെ വീഡിയോ ഷെയറും കൂടി ചെയ്യണം കേട്ടോ. താങ്ക് യു, ബൈ.